Hello, I'm back with another episode about Anthroposophy. If you're new here, I found a YouTube channel of a Mexican artist called Lorena Barrera. Her YouTube channel is called La Bruja Filosófica, which is the philosophical witch in English. And her videos helped me gain understanding as well as discernment in terms of spiritual knowledge. It was as if I had a box of spiritual stuff and she helped me put it into shelves and order it in alphabetical order. So that's why I'm sharing it. I hope it helps someone else as well. Obviously, do your own diligence and your own research. But yeah, in this episode, I'm going to talk about the founders of Anthroposophy, the cosmic history, the cosmic structure, and the hierarchy of angels. So, Anthroposophy, the definition is a spiritual philosophy founded in the early 20th century that says that there is an objective, intellectually comprehensible spiritual world that is accessible to the human experience. The two founders are Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner. Helena Blavatsky was born in 1831 and she was a Russian psychic. There are lots of stories of her supernatural occurrences and people reporting stories on ghosts, spirits. She was also telepathic and she was able to do telekinesis. And then at 20 years old, she trained telepathically with a master in Tibet. After 3 years where she traveled around the world, she actually met and physically trained with this master in Tibet. She opened schools and societies, and in 1875 she founded the Theosophy School. Two of her most known books are Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine. Her teachings have a lot of divine feminine energy, and they are closer to the Eastern and Buddhist teaching of spirituality than to the Western philosophies. She was more about the abstract world, the feelings and the emotions and what to do with them, stuff like that. And then we have Rudolf Steiner, who was born in 1861 in what is now Croatia, but was back then Austria. He was a scientist, but he also studied philosophy, architecture, politics, education, medicine. He used to laugh at people who believed in God, and when he joined Theosophy in 1902, it was a shock to all his friends and his family. In 1913, he created Anthroposophy, which he described as the study of the human being and the connection to the cosmos. The experts in Theosophy thought that Jesus would reincarnate physically. But this man, Rudolf Steiner, thought that it was more of a rise of the Christ consciousness within us type of reincarnation. He also thought that spirituality should be explainable in an intellectual manner and wanted to make it a science with objective statements and fixed answers. He founded Waldorf education, biodynamic agriculture, anthroposophical medicine, architecture, and he wrote so much. There are more than 400 books written by this man in German and 5,000 lectures that he gave and were recorded, and they are still being put into books and or translated. As you can see, he has much more of a divine masculine energy by putting everything into like a structure and making sure that it was like fixed statements. And I think that's what makes Anthroposophy so inclusive. As a side note, I know that I am talking about the feminine and the masculine in very general terms. I know we each have both inside of us, and that within both there's positive and negative traits, but this is just so that we can paint an image, a general image, a general map for spirituality, and then you can discern whatever you want to discern, you know what I mean? I think it's important to put a hierarchy and order to the spiritual knowledge, because otherwise the information gets too abstract and too easy to apply in all and any scenarios. In that case, then we cannot ground it down to earth, and it becomes like a bad translation from the real light and the real information. At the moment, there are a lot of people awakening and quote-unquote downloading stuff from questionable sources. So I propose to use a system, not necessarily Anthroposophy, whatever you feel fits more with what you believe, but it's important to use a system and our discernment so that we are not taken into people's agendas. That being said, I'm gonna talk about something that I personally take with a grain of salt, and that is like cosmic history. This was supposed to happen before even the dinosaurs, or at the same time as the dinosaurs, and then a bit earlier than Egypt and Greece. So it can also be seen as a metaphor for the process of the creation of Earth, or if you are a channeler of this past life, like, take it however you want. I'm just presenting you with the information. This is information from Lorena, but also from different texts and interviews and podcasts that I've seen, read, heard about Lemuria and Atlantis. So, Lemuria represents a phase in our history when the earth was starting to form. At this time, we were not really physical, we were more etheric. We were playing with the shapes, we feeling the elements, we were in flow with nature, just getting to know La Pachamama, Mother Earth. It's what I would call the divine feminine era. To me, it sounds a lot like the movie Avatar. Men were the ones that built the homes and structures, but not too solid, because again, we were one with nature, so when seasons change, we also change. And women were the priestesses that manipulated energy and were in tune with the cosmos. They were also teachers and the connectors of the universal knowledge with the souls that were incarnated at that time on Earth. We were telepathic, and we could move things with our mind. Eventually, and by eventually I mean like hundreds of thousands of years, we took it too far and the feminine fell in consciousness. What this means is that women used the manipulation energy against men, and men started to get envious, and I just pictured the dark feminine, witchy energy, overly sexual, desperate for control, but in a very manipulative way. And so that eventually created a natural catastrophe, and then after Lemuria we created Atlantis. This was the rise of the divine masculine. We were still a bit ethereal and we could use telepathy, but language was also used. Men built cities. There was a lot of technology, a lot of education, but with more structure. So for example, astrology, mathematics, architecture. In one of Dolores Cannon's books, one of the regressions, the person said that we use crystals to levitate rocks, and that's how certain structures were made, i.e. the pyramids. I'm just saying that as a thing that I read, but take that as you will. Women in Atlantis were priestesses and teachers of nature and taught how to purify the soul. We have to take into account that there wasn't a veil of forgetfulness, and therefore souls that made Lemuria fall were still there. So the divine masculine also fell in consciousness, which translates to doing things in technology like mixing humans with animals in the name of science, as well as the start of patriarchy. I've also heard and read that they started playing with the idea of an atomic bomb, and that's why it was stopped by extraterrestrials, because it would destroy Earth and it would have an effect on the rest of the galaxy. A lot of people remember the flood of Atlantis in past life regressions, and it has also been recorded in many different texts in different cultures. So this specifically I don't take it as much with a grain of salt. As a side note, Anthroposophy doesn't talk about Atlantis itself, but Rudolf Steiner did write about it, just so you know. I personally prefer the general idea over the details, so for me, I take these two periods as possible initial maps of our beginnings as a species, but I'm always open to learn something new. And finally, for this episode, another piece of this map that we're building is the hierarchy of angels. So now that I've established the basis for the human formation, the human history, I'm gonna take you to a higher, more abstract plane of existence, okay? So if we understand the universe as energy, then we can see planets and objects and everything in creation as cosmic impulses. By a cosmic impulse, I mean the fragmentation of energy until we get to the ego or the total separation. The more we recollect our soul, the more we remember that we are all part of the one, and the closer we get to God. So how do these cosmic impulses manifest? The Jews in the Kabbalah talk about this actually. There is a hierarchy of angels or images of collective consciousness. The image that you will see in the blog, if you are in the blog, or on YouTube, if you are on YouTube, was created by Dionisio Areopagite, who was a bishop in Greece in the 1st century before Christ. In this picture, there are 9 angelical entities and 3 total trinities. This would be referred to as heaven or the higher astral plane. These energies are at the service of God. That's why it's referred to as heaven and angels. If you are familiar with the 3 religions, the 3 Abrahamic religions. According to this image, above these angelical impulses, it would be God or source or the singularity or whatever you want to call it, and below it would be humanity. In opposition to these cosmic impulses, I would also add the lower frequency astral plane, things like demons, succubus, jinns, etc. But for now, let's focus on these angelic impulses. So from God expanding, each fragmentation of energy is a cosmic impulse with patterns of behavior that are identifiable. The first trinity are the seraphim, the cherubim, and the thrones. And its purpose is to translate the light from God. So the seraphim is the spirit, and these are impulses from love. They receive the ideas from the first trinity. They are the channelers. The cherubim is the mind. They are the spirits of harmony They are the ones that think and cultivate the ideas. And then we have the thrones or the Ophanim, which are the body, and the spirits of will. They transform ideas into action. The first trinity maintains the light and its structure in the universe. The second trinity moves from the quantum field into a more fragmented state that is concerned about the forms and the shapes. The second trinity supports and gives shapes and forms to the solar systems. And these are the dominions, the virtues, and the powers, or the Elohim. The dominions are the spirits of wisdom. They take energy from the first trinity and they start the creation of the forms or the shapes. The virtues are the spirits of movements, and they are in charge of the continuous movement in the planets, like, for example, the elements. Then we have the powers, or the Elohim, which are the spirits of shape, and they are part of the creation of the solar system and also humanity. I want to add here that the Elohim are mentioned in several sacred texts, and most religions stop at this image of God. But in reality, there's so much more. When it is said that humans were made in the image of the gods, it means that we have the strength of a lion, the wisdom of the all within us, because we are part of the all. But we will expand on religions in another occasion. The second trinity take the abstract ideas and bring it to the physical, thus grounding archetypes of consciousness. The third trinity is dedicated to help Earth or other planets and to assist in the physical. They guide humans in the spiritual processes, and they are the archai or principalities, the archangels, and the angels. The archai or the principalities are spirits of personality and of times and eras. They give shapes and create the quote-unquote magic personality, also known as the archetypes of consciousness. This can be seen as the zodiac signs, for example, or even like numerology. Like, the magic personality is who you are without anyone's influence, like who you are in your core, kind of thing. The principalities also keep and hold the illusion of time and the different eras. Then we have the archangels, which are the spirits of fire, and they are the ones that give humans their internal light or spark. They are archetypes of consciousness, and they are inside of us. Working with archangels is also to work with your kundalini or with your chakra system. They are 7 that are associated with the chakras, with different planets and different initiations for humans. They also work with the virtues, which are 7, and there are also 7 capital sins in oppositions, which are called archons. I am aware that there's a lot of people that work with archangels, and some people I've seen that they say that there are more than 7, and I would say that those might just be angels instead. And then we have the angels, which are the spirits of the messages. They help or guide humanity while on earth with messages and light. They will guide you with intuition, with angel numbers, with eureka moments, with songs, with people telling you, or with a conversation you hear on the tube or whatever. I want to add that I am aware that there's people that talk about archangels and working with different archangels and saying that there's more than 7 chakras, and I personally think that the one discernment hack that I have, I think, is that it resonates only if it brings me back to God, which means that if it fragments my knowledge into more pockets of knowledge, then we are getting away from God. But if you put information together, like for example the 7 chakras, the 7 planets, and 7 capital sins, 7 virtues, that resonates with me because it unifies, it doesn't divide. And I've noticed that a lot of people right now are dividing, sometimes unintentionally, but for me a big clue in discernment is when I can unify knowledge into one thought or one concept. So why am I telling you this? Because humanity is supposed to evolve through the 7 spheres or 7 planets, which means through the Kundalini or the chakras, and learn what each chakra comes to teach us. For example, the root chakra, Venus, the feminine; the solar plexus, Mars, the masculine. The purpose is to evolve and to reach the 10th cosmic impulse within our reincarnation on Earth. This last part is according to Anthroposophy. This journey leads to evolved beings similar to angels who serve humanity with balanced hearts. We personify all virtues, and when that happens, we take the ego away and we become angels until we become one with God. And lucky for us, this occult information is no longer hidden. There are many mystic schools as well as other aspects of anthroposophy to learn from, which we will learn in future episodes. I hope that this was somewhat helpful. I'm really thankful that you're here. Thank you for listening to me, and I'll talk to you soon.